Good morning, guys. Welcome to episode 8 of Badgers Angling. Round 2 Willow Marsh Winter League this morning. You'll have to excuse me, I'm feeling a bit worse for wear, to be honest. We went out on the Works Christmas do last night on a mad one at Pongo's Bingo, so hopefully my headache eases a little bit and we can catch a few fish. Catch up with you in a sec. Well, hello folks, Happy New Year to you all, hope you're all well. You join me this time on round 2 of Willow Marsh Fishery Winter League. If you saw my first video, you'll notice that I'm on a different pool this time. I drew on Whispers Peg 10. This is a great peg on the lake, to be fair. It's a really good area and usually good for a few bites and good section points on the lake, so I was happy with the draw. The one thing against me was I thought that if Dragonfly fished as well as it did on the first round, then I might be up against it points wise, because it was a split section between Dragonfly and Whispers and then one section on Sandpipers, so all I could do was sort of give it my best and see how it panned out, really. I started, as you just saw there, I just potted in a few micros on a long line in front of me at 14.5 metres, same kind of style that I did on the first round. Obviously I caught a few fish on it, so I was full of confidence in that. I was going to fish an expander over that, hopefully to catch a few F1s and carp there. I did feed another line, as you'll see here. I was going to big pot maggots. The reason I was going to big pot maggots is because there's a lot of small fish in this lake. There's a lot of roach, gudgeon, that kind of thing, nuisance species really. So I hoped that by sort of big potting maggots every so often, rather than dripping a few in here and there, there's going to be some bait that sort of could get to the bottom, and hopefully the bigger fish could muscle in on it before the small fish had a chance to eat them all. As last round, I started on Waggler, towards the island. It's a real fish holding feature, as it would be on any lake. A couple of foot deep there. There was a little bit of water off the lake, to be honest. Just 2 maggots on the hook, no feed at all. And fair play to Jim there. He bought me some micro pellets round because I forgot to buy some from the shop on site. So I did borrow some off Chris Shermer. Nice one, mate. That got me by for the first little bit before, but the ones that Chris had done were a bit too spongy, so I couldn't soak them up for fishing pellet cone. That's why I got Jim to bring me some, so nice one, Jim. As you just saw there, I missed the bite first cast really, which I thought was probably roach. I did just give it a few more casts, as you'll see in a sec. But on the Waggler here, you'll notice pretty quick whether it's going to be a carp day, or whether there's going to be carp up there, or whether there is just too many roach and stuff about. And after 3 or 4 casts, I did quickly realise that after a few missed bites, they were just roach sort of pecking at the bait. If there was a carp on the end, it'd be on as such. So I had to come off this a bit quicker than I thought I would, really. I gave it sort of, maybe 4 or 5 casts, and I knew, to be honest. I chucked it around the island from sort of right to left. Same result sort of everywhere I cast it, so I was thinking already that it might be a pole day. And with the silvers being so active, I'm not surprised really, because it was quite mild on the day. As you can see, I was just in a hoodie. And I pretty much had that one for most of the day. So yeah, Formula Expander. Setup wise, I had a size 18 Super LWG hook, spade end, 013 hook link. There is a few decent carp in here, even though I didn't want to go too light, because I didn't want to obviously get broke, but I still wanted to get bites from the F1, so it's a fine balance, as I said in the first round, really. If I did start catching more F1s and it was really tough, then I would have probably dropped it down to sort of 011, but I started on R13 anyway, just in the hope that some carp might feed. So I started here just putting in a few micros and fishing a formula expander straight over the top of them. And then just sat and waited really. Didn't have to wait too long this time for the first bite, you know, maybe 5 minutes or so, and it was under. Admittedly, it wasn't the sort of size of fish that I was hoping for. It was a little skimmer, but it's always nice to get the first one in the net, and no one else had really caught. So a bite's a bite, a fish is a fish. Elastic wise, I used 11 Dura Hollow. If you saw my first video, you'll notice that I used the white 13 Dura from Preston, which was perfect for there. But on here, the F1s do seem a little bit smaller than Dragonfly, so I didn't want to be pulling out of any of those. But it would still give me a chance of obviously getting a carp in with a side puller, no problem at all. So I had a quick bite and I thought, you know, let's repeat the process, stick with it. Had a nice little shadow at 14.5 where I could see my float really pimpled down. I was hoping that on that right hand line, as I mentioned earlier, where I'd fed a quantity of maggots, that some F1s would rock up late on that. I have caught well on that in the past, to be fair. But again, just sticking with the same line. Back out to the mark, slapping a few pellets and straight over the top with the formula expander. Now this line didn't really go to plan. After that quick skimmer, I thought maybe I'd have a run of fish, whether it be, you know, a few skimmers, a few F1s, whatever. But it literally took me so long to even get an indication the next time through. Well, I didn't get one, to be honest, after about 20-25 minutes maybe, which is a bit too long really to be waiting for bites. But no one was really catching. I weren't overly fussed, you know what. I just needed to try something else. So I ended up going on my maggot line a lot earlier than I'd planned to. You know, a full toss spot there of maggots, which I was hoping to empty, you know, in one. So as I said earlier, so a few got to the bottom. I put this right out the way of the peg, as you can notice, because I thought that if the small fish do become a problem, then at least they're not in, you know, not in my main peg as such, and I can keep them, you know, well away from my main line. So hopefully I didn't get bothered too much by them. So straight out, tapped them all the maggots out in one go. Hopefully some of those would have got to the bottom. Laid the rig straight on top. Literally the rig just settled and I had a bite straight away, which was a small fish, and it fell straight off, to be fair. It was maybe a tiny gudgeon or something, but yeah, I thought I better leave that alone a bit while there's a few small fish there, and maybe try back on my pellet line. Before I went back on my pellet line, I did put, you know, a good pinch of maggots back on the spot. Big potted it as I said I was gonna. So it's worth mentioning the stock on this lake. It seems to be 50-50 F1s and car. There is quite a few tension here as well as stacks and stacks of silvers. You know, skimmers, roach, perch, that kind of thing, gudgeon. Obviously, to do any sort of weight of fish, I was hoping to catch F1s and carp. I mean, looking around the lake, no one was really setting the world alight. Guy opposite me had got, I think, one skimmer. Guy to my left, which is out of shot, he'd got a couple of F1s on the feeder. But as I said on my first feed, if it's flat calm as it was, I just don't like crushing that feeder on top of them, to be fair. I think sometimes you can do more harm than good. So straight back out on the pellet line. This time though, I did, after not getting any reaction after my skimmer, I did swap to 4 mils here, just to make a little bit of noise more than anything. Just to see if I could drag some fish into the peg. As you can see there, I had an indication pretty much straight away. Didn't have to wait too long, and finally I was into something which pulled some elastic out. Just tapped a few 4 mils in just as I hooked the fish as well, so hopefully it'll keep a few in the swim. That 11 Dura is lovely. You know, it just streams out the end of your pole and you can shit back with no fear of sort of pulling out of the fish. It's awesome. There we go. First proper fish in the bag. Sure, this was a big F1, this one. You know, these are what I was hoping to catch, because if you can line a few up, they're, you know, they're normally pretty obliging. Yeah, it was one of the bigger F1s and they're like that. Maybe 2.5 pound. So as I just caught one, I thought I'd just give it another go, stick on this for a while, see if I could keep stringing a few bites together. As you see there, 4 mils again in the pot. That definitely made a difference. Just making that tiny bit of noise. Drop them out my pot like a noddy, so I'll put a few more in. Just weighted it up so they all stay in the pot. More importantly, they all sink. Then just laying that rig back in, holding the last little bit and lowering it in nicely. Not too long later, away it goes again. Again, just tapping a few 4mm in, swim. I'm pretty sure this one was a carp. It had me all over the place, to be honest. But again, as I just mentioned, you know, the 11 Dura slip, just streaming out the end of your pole. No real risk of pulling out of the fish. The only time you have a problem is if you do hook, you know, a bigger fish that wants to go on a rampage, or you get a foul hooker, unfortunately, but that's just one of those things. I was playing this for quite a while, so I have just cut it there, just so you can skip to the good bit as such. As I said, it was only a small carp, maybe 3 or 4 pound or so, but it had me absolutely all over the place. I really fight hard in this lake as well, the carp. Nearly a terrible bit of net in there, but got through it. So as I said, the carp might be 3.5, 4 pound, which was more than welcome on a tough day. Again, looking round, no one was really catching, so I was happy to just plod along with this, to be honest. You know, for as long as I could keep them coming. I knew it would run out at some point, but I just had to make the most of the fish that were there. So unfortunately my camera did run out, as I've been explaining to you guys before. I am in the process of just getting some new batteries and stuff sorted. I did have a carp on it first chuck on the cone, to be fair, but as I said, my camera had run out, so I unfortunately didn't get the footage. I did give it, that was my next cast, but after 15 minutes or so in the same spot, it never moved, so I quickly came back and planned to have another little go on that pole line. Temperature had dropped a little bit now, as you can see. I'd got my jacket on. Maybe that was the hangover coming out of me. I did feel really, really rough, to be fair, at this point. I'd got quite a headache as well. No paracetamol with me. Not the best when you're trying to see a tiny dot of a float at 14.5 metres, really, squinting your eyes at it. But I was happy with how this line was going. I did have a couple of fish in between, as I said, when my camera died as well on this. Just before I chucked out and had one on the cone. So again, back out to the same mark, just doing exactly the same as I've done previous, tapping a few 4mm and then lowering the rig over the top. My line at this point had really dried up. I just couldn't get a bite on it again. No matter how much I lifted and dropped, after I think I did maybe 2 feeds of just a few pellets, I just couldn't pull any fish back into the peg. They'd gone. So I took the pellet off and the plummet was straight back on. Usually with these F1s they'll either back off or they'll move slightly left or right, and sometimes if you just get the plummet back on, just move slightly left or right, you can get back in touch with them, you know, and catch a few more. So got the plummet back on. I went just slightly right, to be honest, which you'll see in a sec. Not much at all, maybe just looking maybe a couple of metres to the right, in line with the end of the island. It weren't too far away depth-wise, however, no real difference in depth. And again, I just plan to drip feed a few 4mm in there, and hopefully I could get back in contact with some fish, you know. After I'd plumb that line up, I did pick up the maggot rig just to have another look on my right hand line, see if anything had rocked up yet. I was going to put a few 4mm in, tap those in on my new line that I'd just started, just slightly to the right of my 14.5 metre line, and then obviously go in with my maggot straight over the top of my my right hand line. When those F1s rock up on that maggot line, sometimes they'll you know, they're lining up, and I have caught them like that in the past, where it's lovely, your float will just settle and it's gone, you know. So as you can see there, just dropping a few, literally maybe about 7 or 8 pellets. I put a few too many in my pot, so I did just empty them out of the way. Then straight back on my maggot line. Again, laid the rig in, and it pretty much went straight away. But again, not the species that I required, really. I mean, this one went to bad. It was a small skimmer, I think, but not the F1s that I was hoping for. I thought I'd just give it another go, just to see if that was a one-off, just to see if that hungry little skimmer had got in front of some F1s that were down in the peg. So I thought I'd give it another little chance while my new swim was settling. I'd done away with the lid at this point on my toss pot, purely just to empty them really quickly, so they'd go down in a big bowl. Again, emptied all those maggots, all in one. And then same result, just a real tiny fish on the end, and then I knew that this probably weren't going to be the one. There weren't loads of time left, to be fair. So I thought I'd just give it another big feed, really, rather than I just wanted to keep feeding it, and then I could just drop on it every now and again just to see. But with how many small fish seemed to be there, it seemed like it was a bit too mild and there was too many small fish feeding. So I did sack that line off in the end. I just wanted to concentrate on this pellet line, providing I could get it going.
Alright, son. Alright, brother. How you getting on?
So again, exactly the same tactics, just on a slightly different line.
Fish in the lake.
There's Jimbo bringing our tea and pork sandwich round, bless him.
I think Cookou's fucking emptying it.
So I did hook a fish on this quite quickly. Just started tearing off to the left. Felt a bit funny though, this one, and yeah, it must have been felled because it did fall off there, as you can see, which weren't great. But it did give me time to just come back, have a little chuck on the rod, and give me a chance to eat my pork bap and give me hands a warm, you know. Let's fishing pellet cone on this, so piece of corn on a speed stop, size hook, size 14 QM1, 019, and just a little Preston pellet cone. Never had a bite on it, so I went straight back out on the pole as soon as I'd drank my tea. And then I hooked a really small, I think this was a gudgeon, on the 4mm pellet. And I waited ages for that as well, so immediately I'm thinking, let's get the plummet back on. Which, as you can see, I'm looking for now. This time I thought I'd push out into the lake a little bit more, so I was planning on going at 16 metres, but back in line with my original 14.5 metre length, so, you know, a metre and a half past it, just to see if they were sitting off the back of that feed. Had a really bad head boy this time. My hangover was feeling pretty rough, to be honest, and I could really have done without going out to 16 metres, but if needs must. We're into sort of the last hour of the match here anyway, so I do sometimes find that pushing out, you know, as far as you can in the last hour can be good, as can coming short, you know. So I thought I'd plumb that new line at 16 metres, and I was just gonna slog this out to the end of the match now. Again, same tactics, few 4mm in the pot. Exactly the same as I've been doing, just a little bit further out really. Again, looking around the lake, no one's really... I knew I was well ahead. With sort of an hour to go. I think maybe 4 or 5 F1s was best, something like that. I'd got quite a few more than that. I think I'd got about 6 or 7 F1s and then a few carp as well. Few pellets out. And there we go. This was a carp this time, as you can tell the weight's tearing off. It did just go absolutely nuts, to be fair. When I got it to here, it just went nuts and kept going right. Just took me right into the corner. And I was playing it for ages. Got a bit too happy with that one, unfortunately, and pulled it a bit too hard and it broke me. Which I weren't expecting to be broke on that sort of line, but I suppose when you've caught a few fish on it, it's been under a bit of stress. As I said, I knew I was ahead anyway, but it's always gutting to lose one, especially if the end of the league comes down to sort of weight. You want to get as much in the net as possible. I was straight back out, and it seemed they were queuing up. I had a bite next chuck. Pulled me around on my box, this one. Went right down into the right hand corner. I just couldn't turn it. I thought it was going to end up in the other bank. Managed to turn it in the end now. Yeah, that 11 Dura slip doing its thing. I did plumb up a line down to my left hand side as well, down the edge in sort of 3 foot of water. I thought, well, I didn't really give it much time as well. I actually never went on it. I didn't give it any time because obviously towards the end of the match I started catching on my pole again, so well, my long line. And if I had pellets and corn down there, again, that's somewhere I've caught well in the past off this peg as well. If I was really struggling, need a couple of big fish to get back up there, then I would have given it a little bit more time. But obviously, you never come off feeding fish, so I won't say in the world of light. I wasn't, through the match, I wasn't getting a bite of chuck as such. Just plodding along steadily, a bite every now and again, and because no one was really bagging, then I just stuck with it and kept going. Again, I didn't know how Dragonfly was fishing. I didn't know if people were catching. I did ask Jim when he came round to bring the tea and the pork sandwich, and he did say a few were catching, but he didn't sort of elaborate on how many or what sort of size fish people were catching, so I was still in the dark really. I think the carp were fighting so hard, it was really clear, so I could see them, a couple of 3 feet down, so I think they could just sort of see me when they were coming in dating range, and they were just pulling like crazy. This was a slightly better fish. Again, giving me the run around on the 11 Dura slip. A little bit undergunned for these size fish, to be honest, but as I said earlier, I weren't expecting to catch this many carp. I actually ended up catching 8 carp on the day, which usually would have done a really big weight, but they were quite small, the carp that I was catching, other than this one. This one was maybe 5 or 6 pounds, something like that. Those commons as well that seem to pull really hard. Terrible bit of netting by mate. Would have been really annoyed if that had fell off as well. So yeah, nice fish, maybe 5 or 6 pound. Maybe more like 6 or 7 to be honest. Either way, a nice little boost to the keep net total. Again, back out to the mark. And I had another bite fairly quickly as well. Seems like there's a few fish starting to feed now. Always the same in the last part of the match. A few fish start to have a go and you just think, why didn't they turn up earlier? Or open the mouths earlier? Apologies for smacking the camera there. The way this was jagging, I thought there's only one species that this can be. There was going to be a tinker. And it was. Quite a few of these in this lake. In the summer they're a bit of a nuisance, to be fair. But this time of year you don't mind them. Checking the clock, I don't think there was long left at all now. I'm always thinking when I look at that clock when there's not long left, have I got time for another one? I think there was only about 5 minutes left by now. He made a run around this tench. And finally he pops up and is in the spray sack. He's about 2.5 pound. Very, very welcome. So as I said, there's about 5 minutes left. Got straight back out and it just settled and pretty much went straight away, to be fair. Again, the dragging motion, I thought, surely not another winter tench. Just glad there was time for one more.
Fish on.
The all out was called and I'd got one on. Again, with the way it was dragging off, I knew it was another tench, which 2 tench and 2 chucks in December is a bit of a strange one, but again, as I say, more than welcome. Bit smaller this one. Maybe £1.5, £2.
2 tench and 2 chooks.
So that was the end of that. I knew I'd done enough to win the lake. I just hoped that Dragonfly hadn't fished mega and I could challenge, but as Chris read the board there, he soon noticed that £60 was last on Dragonfly. I think I've ended up weighing £53 something. I had 8 carp in that for £30, which is really unlucky, to be fair. They were very, very small. Normally if you have 8 carp on this lake, they'll be a lot bigger. And then my F1s and tench. I think I had about 7 or 8 F1s and a couple of tench, which again they were of quite a small stamp. They only went £23 something. So
£30.5.
So yeah, my 2 nets went £53 an ounces. Unfortunately, as I say, £60 was worst on Dragonfly, so I ended up with 7 points for winning the lake. Well guys, as you can see, back on the drive now, end of the match. So I've ended up with £53 and ounces, which has comfortably won the pool. Unfortunately, with it being the split section with Dragonfly, the lowest weight on there has been £60, so everyone's beat me on there, so I've ended up with 7 points, which is a bit of a gutter, but it's one of those that we all knew before the start of the league, so I'm definitely not moaning. Just one of those things, and I can only hope that some of the other guys near the top endure the same kind of thing, really. We'll go again next week. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, if you're liking the videos. I'm loving producing them. I've just recently started using some new software and stuff, so I'm hoping they're getting better and better over time. Just let us know your thoughts. Thanks.